Hello, I'm Brian Noble, CEO of Family Policy Institute of Washington.
Hi, and I'm Brad Payne. I'm president of FPIW Action.
A quick disclaimer before we get started. Nothing in this video should be construed as an endorsement of the candidate, nor is it the candidate's endorsement of FPIW nor FPIW Action. It's simply a public service to meet and greet the candidate. Also, this will be recorded and placed on several platforms. Brad?
All right. Well, Phil, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate you taking the time out to do this.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. So my first question is kind of three parts. One is if you would just let people know your name and the new position you're running for. And then if you could talk a little bit about your background and maybe tell us a little bit about your family.
Hey, so I'm State Senator Phil Fortunato of the 31st Legislative District, and I'm currently running for Insurance Commissioner. My family, been married to my wife for 47 and three-quarter years now. So one time when I was doorbelling, I knocked on the door and they were having a party inside, and I said, oh, I don't want to interrupt your party. No, come on in. It's my 50th anniversary. So I want a piece of cake, right? So I come in, I'm getting a piece of cake. And I was married 27 years at the time. And I said, got any advice? And he goes, well, this was his 50th anniversary. I said, so got any advice? And he looks at me and he goes, the first 50 are the hardest. I said to my wife, I said, we only got about 2.5 more years before it gets easier, right? We have five children, four boys and one girl. My first three sons joined the Marine Corps. My fourth son didn't want to join the military, so I suggested the Air Force, but he didn't go for that either. I originally started in politics. I didn't pay attention to politics. I was just a businessman at the time. My company planted lawns. I have to make that distinction between planting lawns and planting grass now. So we planted lawns, and the county passed an ordinance prohibiting more than 50% lawn on apartment complexes. And since that was my business, this obviously got my attention. And so that's what actually got me involved in politics. I said, the government's taking my money, telling people not to buy my product. So I said, I better be paying attention to what the heck is going on. And I became a precinct committee officer. Then I became the district chairman. Then I became the 8th Congressional District county representative to the state on the state executive board. And I became a state representative in 1998, got elected for one term. And then I got elected as a representative in 2016. But before I got sworn in as a representative, I got appointed to be the senator. So, and I got appointed. I brought my own Supreme Court justice with me to the appointment process. So at 1:35 on Saturday, I was the senator.
Wow.
But if you get elected in November, you're not the senator until Monday at noon, right? That gave me seniority over five other members.
Wow. Wow. So what is motivating you to become an insurance commissioner? And maybe explain what the insurance commissioner does for.
Well, I mean, the primary thing that the insurance commissioner does is be the advocate for consumers in Washington state against the insurance companies. So, I mean, there's a balance there. But one of the, as a senator, I'm a Republican, we're in the minority. They killed every single one of my bills. I mean, I got to go beg a Democrat chairman to hear my bill. I got to beg to get it out of committee. Once it gets out of committee, you can't even recognize it. It's not even worth voting for your own bill. But the insurance commissioner's office is one of the only executive offices that has a huge portion of what he does is governed by rule, not law. If you took the Secretary of State, for example, it wouldn't matter who you elected as Secretary of State. 95% of what they do has to obey the law. But the insurance commissioner, you could walk in there on day one. You could say, you know what? I'm not going to do any of this stuff. I'm going to do this instead. Publish it. 30 days later, that's what it is. And that's pretty exciting. That means that you can get elected as insurance commissioner, pardon me, and within 30 or 40 days, you can actually make a difference in everybody's life in Washington state. Now, if I'm elected, you can make a good difference. If the other side gets elected, you can have a horrible impact on families.
Hmm.
So,
All right. So, Phil, my next question is, again, kind of two parts. In that position, could you maybe identify one or two primary concerns about what's happening into the insurance industry right now? And then what do you hope, what's your primary hope or accomplishment in that office?
So again, I want to get back a little bit to that rulemaking that the insurance commissioner gets to do. And one of the things that we're seeing happen, or excuse me, one of the things that we're seeing happen is the implementing policy by rule. So not by law, but by rule. So an example is my primary Democratic opponent. She wants to have universal health care, but she also wants to ensure that every insurance policy covers transgender transition surgeries. She wants to make sure that every insurance policy covers abortion, whether you want it or not. Now, those are rules that could be implemented without any going through the legislature. No signatures of the governor, just the insurance commissioner could just say that. If you want to write a policy in Washington state, it has to cover abortion. It has to do this. For example, right now, your insurance policies have to cover birth control. Now, I want you to think about this. You buy insurance for an unexpected event. You don't buy insurance for something you're expecting to do, right? So if you want your insurance company to cover birth control, then get a policy that covers birth control, right? Why are you making everybody else cover birth control? I mean, why does my policy have to cover birth control if I don't want that? And I mean, that's the same thing as when you get car insurance, for example. They say, do you want windshield insurance? If you do, it's an extra $50 or whatever it is, right? My goal is to have more consumer-driven decision-making in that, in their regard to what they want in their insurance, as opposed to the state of Washington telling them, whether you want it or not, this is what you have to pay for.
Gotcha. Very
Excellent. Fourth and final question. We provided for you 18 issues or policies that FPIW Action and FPIW work on. Some of them you've already mentioned. Are there any of those that you'd like to comment on?
Well, all of the issues that you're working on are all in my bag. But I was on housing, my corresponding Democratic opponent. So we're both the chairman of housing and a ranking member. I'm the ranking member. Are now the front runners for insurance commissioner. Okay, so ironically, we're going from housing to insurance. I had a bill to simply get people off the street. Okay, get them off the sidewalk, off the side of the road. So it's not compassionate to have people live in a cardboard box, right? So it was called the Shelter Act, and it said, there was a Morris versus Boise ruling. Can't get them off the street unless there's a place for them to go. I said, fine, we'll give you a place to go. We'll give you a tent. We'll give you a sleeping bag. We'll have social services available, drug and alcohol treatment, mental health evaluation, no drugs, no alcohol. And then if you then camp on public property after we do this at taxpayer expense, it's a misdemeanor, right? You're going to go to jail. I could not get a hearing on that bill until we removed the drugs and alcohol requirement, right? So no drugs, no alcohol, had to remove that. And the reason for that was there's no evidence that denying them drugs and alcohol helps them. I looked at it, I go, what? I go, there's plenty of evidence that allowing them to continue on drugs and alcohol hurts them. I made the mistake of saying police presence instead of security. And and you're creating the concentration camps for homeless, you're criminalizing homeless, how to take off the consequence. So now you have a bill that simply provides a tent and a sleeping bag. And, you know, and I'm going like, what's the point of this? It's not doing anything. And homelessness, you have parents' rights is huge. If you look at I mean, we've been fighting for parents' rights for, I don't know, years. But this year, this last session, I took a little different tack. And I had a bill that was protection of childhood. Okay. A child has a right to be protected by their parent. A child has the right to be advised by their parent. So instead of saying parents' rights, we're saying a child has a right. A child has a right to be protected by their parent. A child has a right to have their parent intervene on their behalf. And you know, individual freedom and, you know, environmental stewardship. What I do for a living, management compliance, stormwater, how to build something and not dump dirt in the environment. I said, there's not too many people that can make a connection between construction, stormwater, and insurance. Okay. But on my desk in Olympia, I got 3 little vials, 25, 100, and 250 turbidity units. And the point of this is at 250 turbidity units, reasonable regulation, I can meet that requirement for $358 a house. So when you buy a house, $358 and translates into what, $600 to the sale price of a house, reasonable regulation, reasonable cost, huge environmental benefit. Okay, you're preventing massive higher mud being discharged and all that. Huge environmental benefit. You go all the way down to 25. The only way to make 25 is chemical treatment. $9,000 to the cost of a house, $16,000 to the sale price, $150 a month in mortgage payment for 30 years. You know what you get for that? Nothing. Unreasonable regulation, huge cost, no real benefit. So those are some of the things that you want to bring to the insurance. More reasonable regulation, more competition, lower cost.
Right. Well, thank you so much. I know that's a big arena. We could talk a lot more about that. Unfortunately, we have lots of people lined up. And so we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you for your thoughtful responses. And we wish you much luck in your remaining weeks of campaigning.
Well, you can always throw in that wild card and say, we'll pray for you.
that we will do.
We will do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay, all right.
thank you very much. Well, I'm Brad Payne with FPIW Action.
And I'm Brian Noble with FPIW. A reminder that nothing in this video is an endorsement of the candidate, nor the candidate's endorsement of FPIW, nor FPIW Action. Like we like to say around here, love your neighbor by faithfully stewarding the public square. God bless you.